are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Right where we were getting going, you said, right where I sort of started abruptly because you said, did you know this is my 50th anniversary interview?
Yeah, 50th anniversary of coming to Toronto. Summer of 71, I became, it's almost a song, Summer of 71. Me and my brother Mark, older brother, we became Canadian kids for 2 months.
And then you've played Canada a fair bit over the years too.
I have.
Right? Yeah.
And when I arrived back in May, the Canadian official on immigration said, your first work permit was before she was born, the official. So I thought that's pretty good, which was in about 91, something like that. That makes sense, yeah.
Is this a comfortable place for you to play? The audience is good and they get it?
Yes, well, I am politically, I was born in Yemen. I am a world citizen. That's a state of mind, really. It's just an attitude. But I do feel comfortable. I want to feel comfortable with anyone and everyone.
Can we talk about that in the context of the languages for this show? I mean, so help me understand it. So I know you're stand-up in English. I know you do stand-up in other languages. So this new show we're talking about today began in French and then German and then...
J'ai commencé tous les spectacles en français à Paris. J'ai décidé, parce que je suis contre, because I'm against Brexit, contre Brexit, I thought, well, if half of our country is saying, let's all break connections and go backwards, head back towards the Middle Ages, and I thought, well, the rest of us should make even stronger connections. So I thought, I normally develop my show in English. I don't write it. I sort of workshop it into a space with using ideas. So why don't I do that in French first? So that's what I did in France, standing on stage and going, bonsoir, je m'appelle Eddie Izzard, je suis transgenre, I am transgender. Je vais improviser ce soir, je suis pas sûr si c'est drôle, pas drôle, funny or not. I'm just going to muck about. And but in French. And so if I don't know the words, I go, oh, what's the vocabulary? Because I know what words I'm thinking in English, and sometimes I might go, comment dit-on helicopter? Oh, helicopter, c'est le même. Okay, very good. Le helicopter, yes, merci.
And then you do German after that?
Yeah, the German one was even trickier because I only did 2 years at school. So I'd already done German shows, but mein Selbstvertrauen is jetzt besser. My self-confidence is better, because that's what it really does when you're standing on stage. If you really want immersion is the way to learn a language. Being there, hearing it on the radio, television thing, the people in the metro, in the shops, all giving you French or giving you German, whatever it is. So on stage, even though no one's really talking to me, I have to endlessly go, ja, ich habe gedacht, das ist eine gute Idee für ich, eine Person transgender. It's the same word as English. You look for other words. But, German's very close to English in a number of ways. French is very close to English in a number of ways. So that's good. And then Spanish is sitting there. Then there's Arabic and Russian that I need to catch up on.
But I think to a lot of people, I mean like a lot of people, the idea of getting on stage in their first language and doing stand-up comedy is terrifying enough, right? But the idea of getting on stage and doing stand-up comedy in a language you don't speak well, like you speak enough, but you don't speak well, and this expression gets used a lot, but I think it can be used literally here, actually the stuff of nightmares. Like I can imagine a nightmare for me getting on stage I wake up in Warsaw and I have to get on stage and I don't speak Polish enough and I have to do a stand-up routine in Polish. Where does that love of a challenge come from?
It's just work. The more you do it, the easier it gets, because the language is sitting there. All French kids speak French. All Russian kids speak Russian. All Mandarin Chinese kids speak Mandarin Chinese. So the language can't be that hard. Any language can't be that hard. Some of them do seem harder than others. But if, when you go to Mandarin Chinese areas of China where they speak Mandarin Chinese, I'm quite sure that there's no one saying, well, this kid just gave up on the language and just points at things and does thumbs up.
But it is... how do I put this now? It is different. It is because you want to speak to as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah, it seems a good way of putting money where your mouth is. I'm very positive on the world, and I think we have to have a world where everyone has a fair chance in life. So making connections is going to be the way that humanity is going to survive into the next century.
But being funny is different. I had a friend of mine, I feel like I'm arguing with you about your own incredible work, but I had a friend of mine one time who said she grew up Anglo in Quebec, but she went to French school the whole way up, right? So her French is perfect, right? You know, and she can speak French. And when we go out in Montreal, if there's a problem, she'll still take care of it. And
I think I know what you're going to say, but say
and she said to me, I said, so how you find it? And she said, you know, and she ended up saying to me, I find it hard to be funny in French. I'm not funny in French.
I'm funny in French.
Was that hard? Like she said, like
I've heard this. I don't quite understand it. I first made a taxi driver laugh. I was testing this because people had said this, and people said that the sense
you can learn a language, but it's hard to get the nuance of it to make people laugh.
Well, there's that. Well, the nuance, nuance is a thing, but I can prove it to you in a second. I can show you a sentence I say in three languages. But I made a taxi driver laugh at the Cannes Film Festival. We had this guy who was nice to us, so we kept his contact, and so we kept using him. And it's all log jam traffic at the Cannes Film Festival. So we're going along. There's about four of us and him in the car, and it's just doing bumper to bumper edging, and then it speeds up and it's going 5 miles an hour or 5 kilometers an hour. It's just now it's edging along, consistently edging along. And I turned to him and I said, c'est comme le Grand Prix maintenant.
It's like the Grand Prix right now.
Yeah, like the Grand Prix, French Grand Prix, which is just down the road from them. And he went, oh, yeah. And I thought, I've made him laugh. Therefore, if I've made one French person laugh, I can make two. I could do another joke. I could do, it's the same thing. Humor is human. It's not national. The references are national. Now, it's interesting as someone who grows up in that and they find difficulty to make someone laugh. I want to see someone who's hysterically funny in one language, brilliant at the second language, but can't make them laugh. If they can't do that, because was her sense of humor in the English language pretty good as well?
Yeah, it was okay. But I think her sense of humor in the English language is wordplay based, though. There you go.
That's it. Yeah, puns don't work. Dump them all. The puns are not going to work. So, boom. If it's wordplay, never going to happen. Her shop references. The mainstream comedians will reference sports stars, politicians, what's on television. Blah, blah, blah. You go to another country, that doesn't work. But if she's growing up in the same city, then that should have worked perfectly. All her references, stuff on television, should have worked fine. I human sacrifice. Talking about Caesar, talking about Julius Caesar, and I would say in English, Caesar, did he ever think he would end up as a salad? So she gets a laugh in English, okay? Because all this murder, he murdered 1 million Gaulish people, enslaved another man. This is someone, murder came easy to him, and he's now a salad. So in French, César, est-ce qu'il a jamais imaginé qu'un jour il finirait en salade? So salad again is the release point. German, it's the past tense, so you've got a verb coming at the end of the sentence, and I thought, how does this work? But it sort of works perfectly with this one slight adjustment. You go, César hätte je gedacht, did he ever think, dass einmal, that him at one time, als Salat enden würde, as salad end up would have?
Yeah.
Now, as salad end up would have comes, like a split second after you said salad. As a salad end up would have, ended up as a salad. And they laugh maybe a split second after, but they get it all. It's just the verb, and they're used to the verb coming at the end of the sentence. So it all works, and that's a reference people know about Caesar. And if you don't know about Caesar, you're not gonna laugh at that joke. But no. I use universal comedy, human sacrifice, haircut, sex. Shopping in general, radio stations, TV stations. There's so much you can talk about. It's only about 10% you can't use.
How did you end up interested in comedy in the first place?
Sense of humor, I think, is genetic. So Dad had it, my brother had it, I had it. We just had it all. We discovered Python, I think, separately. And Dad started playing us Goon tapes, which is Peter Sellers and Spike Milligan. People in Canada probably know about the Goons from if they are more senior years.
And Pythons too, they aired here at the same time they aired in the UK too. In Canada, they did.
Yes, I know. And they said that when they came out to Canada, they were like rock stars. Yeah. And then they flew in to do one interview in, I'm not sure if it was in Texas or whether it was in LA. On PBS, because they were discovered through Texas PBS. That's the curious thing. about Python, but they weren't so known then. And then suddenly they were known. I worked out from Python that I could break through in America. I just thought, well, I'm so influenced by them, it should work.
The last time you were on, you told me about the great story about sneaking into the studio when you were a kid and wanting to be an actor and all
about
this.
Pinewood Studios.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great old chat. What I wanted to ask this time was, so what was the path between I like Monty Python, that's funny to me, those fellas are funny, to I want to be a comedian. I want to make people laugh for a job.
It even precurses that. So at 7, I see a play, The Boy with a Cart by Christopher Fry. I see the play. Mum had died that was 1970, so Mum had died 2 years before. So that was a thump in the head for the whole family, particularly me and my brother. And then this play where audiences are going, oh, this is good, and applause and laughter and reaction. And I just thought, I want to do this stuff that's on stage. So that's age 7. And I think there was laughter in that show, but I wasn't. I was just thinking, an actor. That's what I want to be, an actor. I suppose I wanted to do all the emotions. And then I wasn't given any good roles. I tried auditioning, but how do you get good at auditioning when you're at school? Tall kids, if anyone remembers school, for boys, tall kids got the roles. Small kids played servants, slaves, jailers, and all other riffraff. Mm-hmm. It was the tall kids who were more believable as getting the girls. So I wasn't getting any roles, and I just kept pushing all the way through. And then I hit puberty, and I thought, I don't know if I am the. So being trans wasn't really into it. I still fancy girls because I'm always been a wannabe lesbian. So fancying girls was not a problem. It's just that I didn't feel I could really say I love you and mean it, but I could say I love you like fish love things that fish love, and I could do this sort of thing, and I could almost recount every Python sketch sounding like them, and I just thought, okay, well. I didn't realize they specialized in it, that you could actually specialize in comedy. So that's over teenage years, even though I was still loving films and broke into films at 15, and the actual idea of being a dramatic role in film was going backwards, and more having the Python career on television, then into Python films, and listening endlessly to their tapes. That became my thing, all the way up to the age of 30, when I hadn't got anywhere, and I started to get somewhere, and I thought, right, I'm going to separate out, get 2 separate agents, and push for drama as well as for comedy.
And you were doing street performance too in Covent Garden. Yeah. Paint me a picture of what that was like. What did those street performances look like?
Street performing, you have it here down in Toronto on the Lake Shore.
Yeah. What were you doing?
So sorry?
What were you doing? What was yours?
We were double act, me and my partner Rob. And we did failed tricks, making a bowl of cornflakes disappear because in the end I would eat it. Making water evaporation trick because you just pour it down your trousers.
That's still working on me. I'm just hearing about it, by the way. It's working on me, and I'm just hearing about it.
I think it talks okay, and I've actually recounted. If I recount it in detail, people go, "Oh, that sounds silly." And on a good day, people would laugh, but they would not. They would not. At the end, they give you money, and they would go, "That's very good. Here's 6pence." And you're just. Whereas someone juggling 9 clubs, they go, "That's 9 clubs. We must pay for this talent." Whereas these are just idiots. At the best, we were idiots. And then we did a sword fighting show because I had directed 3 Musketeers, and my partner Robert played Porthos in that story. So. We knew how to sword fight, and so we used it with fencing, sporting fencing épées, and that got quite interesting. But we still didn't take off. And then I went solo as doing escapology from Ropes and Chains, and then from a 5-foot unicycle in manacles. And I lost all my confidence doing it. It's very difficult doing street performing. If you have to hold the audience. And that's very hard because in a theatre, they will just generally sit there. 1 or 2 could walk out, or loads if you're really offensive, I suppose, or something. But generally, they've paid some money and they're there. These people haven't paid any money. They've got a lot of other things to do. You're competing with all the noises of an open area. And if anyone watches My Fair Lady, where Audrey Hepburn is going, "Bar fly, sir, fly there," that's the Piazza. That's the West Piazza. It was the Covent Garden market, and it became us.
So do those skills you learn in keeping an audience in street performance, when you go on stage doing stand-up, are they transferable?
Yes. The confidence out of the center of your stomach. And in the end, I lost all my confidence and rebuilt it brick by brick accidentally. It wasn't a plan. But in the end, I became hyper confident through that. And then I took that into stand-up, which I couldn't do to save my life when I started. I never planned to be a solo performer. I'd now become a solo performer, and I worked to bring my sketch comedy into that. If you analyze my stand-up, you'll see that it's very Richard Pryor influenced, and it has essentially sketches and me narrating in between the sketches and saying, talking about Caesar, did he think he would end up as a salad? And I have the death of, I said because Caesar was advised by chickens in his most famous battles. So I have the Battle of Alesia going, I have Vercingetorix, he is there. What shall I do now, Mark Antony? Oh, you think so? But other people were going, oh, yeah. And so I got a chicken talking. And that's really me just playing both characters in a sketch.
Yeah.
But I've set up the idea beforehand. And I think that's the motherlode of where comedy really takes off. Billy Connolly really showed me that, and Richard Pryor. So that's what I am copying. And even I've used a Richard Pryor technique to do drama now, doing Great Expectations, Charles Dickens' Great Expectations, using the technique of having two characters just turning their heads and talking to each other and changing their voices.
I'm going back to what you were saying about the languages, and I said, it's a great challenge. You said, well, no, sticking people in a phone booth is a challenge. It is hard. It is hard to learn a bunch of languages, but it just takes a lot of work. I think about that with the trillion marathons you've run too. I thought about you the other day while I was running, and I was thinking I got a bit bored, and I said, I remember you saying to me last time, well, you just keep going. You just keep trying.
But you do need a goal. Like if you said, I'm going to do this, maybe they're even filming it, and if I don't do it, people will know and they'll point at me. And use a humiliation as your backup, or a camera team as a backup, or book yourself into a half marathon, full marathon that's there. So I use those techniques.
But you bombed a lot when you did stand-up first. So that's what it's reminding me
Street
of.
and stand, yeah.
But I also know I've had people tell me it's the hardest thing in the entire world. I had people tell me that they did stand-up once and they bombed and they never did it again. Oh. But you bombed a lot, right?
No. Where did you get that? Because people have said that, and I don't think I did.
I have a newspaper article,
Yeah.
Or I tell you what else I saw. I saw a thing in a documentary of a map where you had done a map of London, and you had put a pin.
This is in my documentary.
A pin where you had done well and a pin where you had bombed.
Not where I'd bombed. It's where I'd played but not got booked back.
Oh.
Where I played. It was more like that. Let's see. Did I actually bomb? At the Comedy Store, I bombed a number of times, because that's a very hard audience. They're very drunk, and to get through with my stuff, surreal stuff, is very tricky.
Right.
So, yes, I bombed a number of times there. Other clubs, there's a number of ones where I just went down to silence. I don't think I was hugely heckled, but people reminded me, I remember you doing terribly at the beginning, and I thought, I didn't think I was that terrible. It doesn't really matter if I was or I wasn't.
What a great...
And if it's a better story than I was telling, all right.
Maybe the definition of bombed is wrong. I hear it as no laughs. Not heckled and chased off the stage. I mean that as no laughs.
Heckled off the stage is bombing for me. No laughs is just dying. Okay, different definitions of dying.
So
bombing.
You died.
Yeah. I just failed to move them. I did my first ever gig, which was a year and a half before my second gig. I got one laugh. St. Paul's letter to Corinthians, chapter 2, verses 1 to 17. Dear Corinthians, how are you? You all right? Laugh. That was a laugh, and then everything else was silence. So that's what I did at Banana Cabaret in Balham. I got this one laugh, which I've since, because I got it when the Corinthians again. We got this letter from St. Paul again. Who wants it? I don't want it. I'm the postman. Someone's going to take it. We Corinthians do not want. Why is he sending us a letter? He's sending a letter to an entire tribe, entire people. This is insane. Who does that? I'll put it on the notice board. Oh, God, St. Paul. Let's write back. St. Paul, our legs have fallen off. My knee has exploded. Is that God, or is that the dog that ate it? Please help. Tell us about soup. Just writing back. Dear Corinthians, I got your last letter. What the flying... I don't know if I can swear. You seem crazy, you people. You could have just really screwed up St. Paul just by sending him back a lot of weird letters. Oh, right, Corinthians. No, stop. You're just mad now. I'm going to come around there and hit you with a stick.
That got a lot. That worked. That worked for you.
When I reprised it, when I was up to speed. Once I got up to speed, I worked out how I could do these things. But you have to go through the hell.
Can we listen to some of your comedy? Yeah. You cool with that? Take a listen to this.
So God created the world in 7 days. A foolish brag, I feel. If I was God, I'd say, I'm going to create the world over a number of days. Not sure how long, might be a bit pressed, Too much pressure, 7 days dead. I'll do it like Microsoft. It's going to be done by Saturday, Tuesday, next week, about a month. We're going to bring it out when we're ready, right?
That's my guest, Eddie Izzard's 1997 special, Glorious. Eddie talking about the creation of the world. So where does the impetus come to want to talk about very big things in your stand-up?
Well, my comedy is surreal. It's not angry, internally angry. You know, a lot of people are troubled, a lot of troubled souls maybe in comedy. That I'm not really a troubled soul. I'm the most untroubled out transgender person, came out 36 years ago. Thanks very much. So you do, if you wear your well, if you come out such a long time ago, you don't really have so many problems. So I'm not railing against things. And then there was an idea that my comedy was quite gentle. I thought, I don't really want to be the gentle comedian. So I thought, and I actually from Bill Hicks, I saw Bill Hicks, and remember him talking about George Michael. He says, "Oh God, George Michael is such a girl, You know, and I thought, oh, Bill, that's not really a great way of going about things. And then he was talking about other things I heard later, and about, he says, we've got this technology for shooting a bomb into someone's letterbox. I think first Gulf War. He says, why can't we shoot food? Why can't we shoot a banana into somebody's mouth using this tech? Why don't we do it that way? And I thought, that's a great Bill. I thought that's yeah, I like that. You're taking on targets which are worthy of your skills. So that's what I had to do. And I realized human sacrifice was the time when I thought, well, I mean, I started talking about God because I had 12 years of God at school given to me that wasn't at home. So I felt that I'd gone through the mill on God, and I could now look at it objectively and decide that I didn't. I know that there is no God up there.
But I feel like British comedy at the time when you first started was very political.
It was very
micro-political as opposed to macro-political, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yes. There was a thing, Thatcher was there I started in 88. Was she still there? Yeah, she was. So it was the end of Thatcher, so a lot of people were railing against Thatcher. And I knew I might want to go into politics, so I didn't want to do politics as in my humor. I wanted to do, and it dates.
Very strategic, though.
Yeah, I'm military strategic. I mean, if you think of how many trans people are playing in Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol right now, a straight role, and then going off to tour Canada, and then got a tour of Spain and Spanish-speaking countries in Central America, South America, which I'm about to do, and I've never played there before, but I think I can play them. And if they marry up doing an English gig and a Spanish gig on the next day, because I put 17 language subtitles on my DVDs. So I have actively done things that are really out of the box, off the list, off-piste, or piste. So in order to try and set things up, I play such a long game.
I know this is maybe a meaning of life question, but like, is the end goal just to experience as much life as possible?
No, the end goal was I'd like to play all the countries of the world.
So if not better, more interesting.
I want to do challenging stuff. I want it so that people go, oh, the drama is really working, as well as the stand-up. I wanted to get the stand-up. It's at a very interesting level. If I'm ad-libbing, I'm ad-libbing in German. I was doing German jokes about John Shaft, the detective, in German, that only a third of the audience were getting. But my German friends were saying, you've got to keep that in because it's too out there and weird.
And is this all, I mean, I don't get paid enough to ask this kind of question, but I'm curious about it anyway. Like, or maybe I spend a lot of time wondering the big why of what I do, the big why of why I do sort of everything that I do,
Right.
And I think for me, it lands on, I really like connecting to people a lot. I've always loved talking to people. I've always loved being able to sit down and chat with anybody and have a yak and connect with them and try to find some common empathy. I mean, I really feel like that's sort of at the heart of everything that I do. So all this, like, I want to do stand up in every country I can. I want to be able to talk to as many people as I can. I want my roles to be, is there a core, that's a big question, but is there a core why?
Well, again, it all goes back to Mum, and I lost that love. So if people like what I do, it's not unconditional love that an audience gives. It is conditional. Do good work, and we'll say well done. You do bad work, and we'll go And if you start dialing it in, then we're just going to back off from you, because careers can plummet. So I got to keep ahead of the game, keep doing stuff that's really difficult. I've got a few analogies, like doing everything with one hand tied behind my back. I'm running the race. When it's the curved race, the person on the outside starts ahead, and that first thing, and then they all level up. I'm consistently trying to run on the outside of the track. so that I'm trying to stay 4 steps ahead because I have to go into politics. That's going to be 10 to 15 years, come out of politics, and then I'll be about 75 when I come out. So I've got to ride in the rest of my career without losing it entirely.
And that's a real thing. I mean, there's a lot of press around this tour, Wunderbar, that we're talking about, that this might be your last tour before you go into politics.
It is. And I was going to go in the last election, but for whatever reasons, I didn't get a seat. And maybe that was the fates just holding me back for one more session.
You can talk to a trillion people. You can talk to an awful lot of people on stage in your work. What do you want?
You can get things done.
Yeah.
You can change things in politics.
Yeah.
Outside, you can try and influence, but you change things by being in government.
What do you want to change?
Well, I don't. I want to head towards a world where everyone has a fair chance in life.
Well, I feel like I want to ask you about 12 more questions about the idea of love being a cudgel, and I love that idea of perhaps love and unity being something that can bring us all together.
Love is the one thing. That's the thing that connects us all. If you watch a story of love from another culture, even from animals, other mammals doing this, and we interact with that will save the world. Is there enough love in the world? That's what I'm going to try and find out. That's everything I'm trying to do is to find that. And if we don't, the political stakes are this century. I don't think we'll make it the next century unless we make it a fair world for every citizen of the world. And COVID nationalism right now is showing that we're not there. We've got to get vaccines out to the other countries of the world, which are not getting them at the moment.
Let me close by coming back to the tour and to the craft. Acting, acting, writing, filmmaking, politics. It does feel like stand-up is still sacred to you, very meaningful to you. Standing on stage in front of a crowd is very meaningful to you. What do you get from doing stand-up?
Well, there's total control. So I was just here and I said, let's do a tour of Canada at the end of the thing. Just set up, see what we can do. And even with COVID, what's COVID going to be? Okay, we'll get the guys over because some of the crew are from America, some are from Britain. And they could quarantine and come in if they want to do that. If they don't want to, we'll work it out. I can say things are going to happen. I'm saying to my tour manager, okay, find places, start in Mexico City, because I watched the beginning of Spectre, the James Bond movie, and I watched the DVD extras, because the extras are a very important part of, I think, of films, and they should have them. But they weren't great DVD extras, I think, but except for the opening sequence, and it showed Mexico City very happy to be the front of a Bond film, and it had a whole 10-minute sequence, and all the craftsmanship and the artistic ability of Mexico City went in there, and other Mexicans that were coming into it, and I thought they need. I have to be there. I have to be there in Spanish and saying, Mexico City, cuidad. Buenas fucking noches. I need to be saying that. I need to be doing it, starting my Spanish tour there, and then going through Central America, South America. And I can just say, let's go do it. So that's the thing that stand-up gives me. And on stage, I know that, because if I'm doing it in French and German and then adding Spanish and other things, it should be a pretty interesting show. And I don't even know what I'm going to do.
Oh, lovely.
I know roughly what I'm going to do, but if we have a good night, then I might be... the fates will be with me, and I'll just be coming up with stuff, and I'll be going, this is interesting. I'm glad you're here watching it.
Lovely to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
Thanks for being here.
Again.
I'm looking forward to the tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eddie Izzard was my guest. You can catch the dates of her tour. We'll put it on our Twitter at CBC Radio Q.